Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks, we're the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini preview, and today we are talking about Drop Bears, designed by Matthew Aslan of Platypus Industries. Now, what Drop Bears is it is a pandemic-style game. What I mean by that is all the players are moving about the board, trying not to all die in order to achieve the objective. In this case, you're enough survival points, so you make it through the game. And it is a fully cooperative game for 1 to 4 players. And it is based on the, I guess I'll call it the urban myth that exists in Australia, though everything I know about Australia tells me it's probably true, which has to do with koala bears. Koala bears are adorable. They're so cute, they're so sweet, except not really. There are a thing called drop bears, and those are the koala bears that have gone evil or always were evil, and they have sharp fangs. And then as the unsuspecting tourists are just kind of walking around through the eucalyptus trees, like, oh, look at the cute little animals, they literally drop out of the trees and murder you. Drop bears! Australia! Yay! Now, the reason I'm doing a mini preview is I've actually recorded a whole overview and just the sound didn't work. And I'm just out of time, so I do apologize for that. Hopefully you will be able to grasp what is going on. I suspect you will. It's not that complicated. So what's going to be happening in the game is each player, they're all going to start in a base camp where you're camping in the woods. That's on a hex tile. And then you start out and you hear something and scary, and you all run. You scatter different directions, different hexes. And as you scatter different hexes, you're going to flip over a new tile, and it'll have something on there. It might have something that's going to up your heart rate. It might have something that might hurt you, whatever. Or it might have something that you can do a search and get new supplies, or something like that. Now, on your actual turn, what's going to be happening is you're going to get to take 2 actions. The actions you can take are you can explore a new hex tile, you can run, which means move over 2 different hexes, try to get somewhere. Of course, you do that, your heart rate's going to go up. Heart rate going up is bad. I'll talk about that in a minute. Or you can try to do an endeavor, which is some of the tiles have specific locations where you're trying to roll a certain number, and if you get enough successes, then everybody on the tile is going to get some kind of bonus, or you can rest. And these are the things that you can do. Resting brings your heart rate down. I keep talking about heart rate because if your heart rate reaches the max, you will pass out. And if you are passed out, then at the end of the game, if you're still passed out, then you count as being dead. You can only have a certain amount of deaths depending on the number of players that you have, or you will automatically lose the game. You will also lose it by the time the marker reaches the end of the track if you haven't gotten the set number of survival points required, which is again based on player count. As I mentioned, you can die. And the way that you can die is, one, as I said, you can be running around through the forest, you can run into poisonous spiders, you can trip on something, whatever. Or the drop bear shows up. Because once everybody's taken their turn, the drop bear, or bears, yes, more than one, will move or drop out of the trees. If they can't get to anybody, they simply climb back up into the trees, and they'll drop down later. If they are already up in the trees, they're going to drop down on one of the unsuspecting tourists, and that's determined by an AI that each drop bear has. It's all a little bit different. They all do a little bit different things, but mostly you're going to be rolling dice, and they're going to do one of 3 things when you roll those dice. They're going to hurt you, they are going to raise your heart rate, or nothing. Nothing is good, the others are bad. Now, if your health gets all the way in, then you have died. You are out of the game, as I mentioned before. Now, I also mentioned you can have your heart rate go up so high that you simply pass out. Now, it is possible for someone to come and revive you. That is a thing that can be done. But either way, whether you've passed out or you're dead, that whole character is going to move to the side with all of their gear, which is very, very useful stuff. I didn't even mention there's a whole bunch of gear that you can use. Maybe you have matches, you find kindling, put them together, you can start a fire, which is great. Yay, fires are good. Then you're not out of the game. You simply draw a new tourist, because apparently there's a bazillion tourists running around this forest of evil, evil drop bears. Why no one knows this? I don't know, but they don't. You just simply draw a new one, and each tourist is going to have their own little special power and special ability, and to activate those abilities, you have to use survival points. I mentioned survival points, I mentioned it earlier, because that is your win condition. So you're actually going to be able to use your survival points, your win condition, to activate abilities, which maybe will get you something that you need, or maybe will keep you alive, etc., etc. And you're simply going to play through, and probably you're going to have too many deaths prior to that, and you're simply going to lose. But maybe you get all the way to the end, and if you still have collectively enough survival points, you will actually win the game. In the morning, you'll be able to get out of the forest and, I don't know, go swim in the ocean and get killed by a jellyfish, because that's Australia. So, what do I like about this game? I like that for this kind of pandemic-style game, it is particularly simple. Now, my description was not great, but it is a very, very simple game. You simply have to know what actions you can do, and then it's a matter of how are you puzzling this out in the best way. I also enjoy the randomness of the board as it kind of builds as you go. It has that exploration. It gives you that feel that you're running around in the forest, you don't know what's around the next corner. And I do like that. And so I like that. I'll a little bit more on that in a bit. And so I like that exploration. I like how you kind of build this map out however it is that you want. I like all the different gear that you can get. It's very simple. They don't do a lot of things, but what they do is particularly valuable. And I really like that it feels like most of the gear that you're going to get is simply you use it and get an extra action. And that's just great. It's clean, it's simple, and always satisfying. It's like, oh look, I found Vegemite on toast. 1, gross. 2, yay, eat it and run. Or whatever it is that you're going to do. And so I think all of that works very well. I think the game itself is actually really well crafted. I really like the idea that you have 2 stats that you're tracking. You have your heart rate, which goes up and down, and your health. Health is kind of the standard in this kind of game, but adding the heart rate to it, I think, makes it particularly interesting, especially because, again, like your survival points, it's a resource that you can spend and you have to manage. You can run, but your heart rate's going to go up. But you can take a whole action and just rest and bring it back down. Or maybe you found the gear so you can actually start a fire, and then you can rest at the fire and bring it down even more. And so all of that, I think, does work really, really well. And then the next thing that I'll say is, I think the production choices that they've made are really, really interesting to me. What they've done is they've given you, or they will be giving you, nice meeple screen printed things for the tourists, which look like this. And do just keep in mind that these are still in the prototype phase, but that gives you an idea. And there'll be a whole bunch of those. Nice, thick, chunky, stand up, and you can lay them down when you get knocked out, whatever. But for the drop bears, they've gone with minis. And the minis are horrifying. And again, there's 3D printed minis, but I'll let you take a look here. And it's not the easiest to see, but hopefully you can get an idea. I mean, this is a pretty cool mini. They're going to come with 1 for each of the different drop bears that you can play, and I believe it's going to be 4 in the final game. And so all of that I really do like. So what are my quibbles with the game? The first quibble is, it is inherently very random as you are building out the board. It is completely possible that you get panicked by a drop bear, you run right into something that kills you, and you had no chance, nothing you can do about it. You can have it where you start out, you run right into a whole bunch of stuff that's going to up your heart rate, and suddenly you are crippled. And there's just a lot of things that, due to the theming as you're kind of moving through this forest that you don't know, you can just get nailed with stuff that's just going to make it to where it feels impossible to win. And that is just something to keep in mind, is there is a good element of chance to this game. Even when it comes down to the drop bears they're attacking, you are rolling dice. And if you're me, it feels like they always hit you and hurt you, but they don't have to. So there is a swinginess there that might not be your cup of tea. And then the second thing that I will just go ahead and point out is, this is a very light game. It has these cool minis and stuff, and from its appearance, it struck me, I thought it was going to be a much, much, much heavier game than it is, but it's not. This is a light, simple game that you're going to play in under an hour, and there's not a lot of crunch. It's a lot about managing what is going on, managing the chaos that is happening as you're running around, and then as the game progresses, it calms down a little bit because you've established what the board is, but then more and more drop bears are coming, the danger goes up and up and up. So you're just constantly managing this chaos and trying to work your way around through it. And that's where the core of the gameplay is. There's not a lot of depth and crunch to it because it is a very simple rule set. So just, again, not necessarily bad. That's why I say it's a quibble, but just something to keep in mind. The last thing I'll say is, it's just creepy. And this is just me. I'm not a big horror guy, and you may know that about me, but it's creepy. There is something intensely creepy to me about these cute little koalas dropping out of the trees and eating people. And so for a lot of you, that's probably a huge bonus. But for me, I can't play this with my wife. Did not even show her the box because nope, she would be right out. So just keep that in mind. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I put it in my Quibbles because in this house, it's a non-starter because my wife is not interested in looking at koala bears that are going to eat you. No, 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 no. But there you have it, folks. That is Drop Bears. Should be on Kickstarter now. I think this is a really solid game. This is something that, if you like that style of co-op, that Pandemic, that Solar Storm, that The Loop, the Mission Catastrophe, all those kinds of games, if you like that kind of game, and you like this horror idea, then this is a really good one to check out because I think it does a really good job of realizing the theme of the game more so than a lot of the style of game does. So there you have it, folks. That is Drop Bears. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.